This podcast is just for fun. It's all fake. Don't believe us. Look, do your own research.
I don't understand the obsession with White Monster.
Welcome to
the
show.
I tried to hit a beat frequency. I don't think I quite got it. I was close, but I think it just sounded off.
Like a BPM of like 20.
What? No.
Welcome to.
I
don't know.
What?
I don't know.
1,000, 2,000, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000.
No. The thing we talked about previously. Wait, was my? I feel like we were missing somebody for that one. Maybe. I don't remember.
You trying to do a frequency thing?
The beat frequency where it's the one that's like just far enough off.
I gotcha.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Courtney might have missed that part. I don't remember.
So it'd be like in the old records when they messed with stuff. So like we overlap the four of us saying those different words together, and all of a sudden we like open a vortex or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I wonder if you chain.
It'd be trippy.
I wonder if you chain beat frequencies
Somebody
together.
do that and tell us what happens.
I learned about that in one of my music classes.
Frequencies together.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
We play it backwards, and it's.
Hey, no, none of that. None of that.
Yes.
It's actually harder to play things backwards now because they're. You used to do it on the records. You can do it at home, but you can't really do it at home. You have to have equipment now.
Yeah, you have to have like an app or a
We've
website
made everything so complicated.
So complicated.
I'm just going to get to this. Mike, you brought us. Tell us about this.
I was at the Buc-ee's. Because I like the Buc-ee's. They had the
Buc-ee's.
They had this energy drink called 3D Energy, and so I was like, "Oh, let's check these out." So I've never had these before.
3D Energy.
Yeah. All so right. I've got a strawberry lemonade.
Mine is Liberty Pop.
Watermelon grape.
That sounds good.
That is a cool.
I'm stoked. Ooh,
that's good.
That was pretty good.
That tastes very similar to Ghost's version of the Liberty Pop, which is great because I love it.
This is strange.
Is it?
Yeah, I like it, I think.
Good.
I'm pretty sure I like it. I was pretty sure I was going to like it.
This reminds me of Smarties. The strawberry lemonade has kind of a Smartie.
Nice. That sounds good.
That's what most Monster.
This is really good taste.
Yeah,
it's just Smarties.
It's not bad. I like the sweetness level of it.
This would be a go-to regular if they had it here.
This gives me the same vibes as the strawberry shot Monster. Like,
what comes first, the watermelon or the grape?
The grape. The grape comes first. The watermelon will just like make appearances here and there. Like it kind of intertwines. It does it smoother than the strawberry shot Monster. It's not like one little puff of flavor.
So the name choice, calling it watermelon grape, makes me want to think that the watermelon would be more forward.
But it's not the case.
But grape is such an watermelon doesn't have the same ring to it.
Yeah.
Marketing.
Yeah.
And the marketing's very simple with this can. It's a basic design on this can. Like I almost missed it because it just looked.
This one's just boring. Like electric violet.
Yeah. It's just like a color. Like there's not a whole lot going on.
Dude, companies, so the Bombsicle or the Liberty Pop or the America Pop, whatever their brand is, companies that don't make this, it confuse me because it's literally just you already have your cherry flavor. You already have your lemonade flavor. You already have your blue raspberry flavor. Just mix them and it's Liberty Pop.
Liberty Pop is my new favorite name for that, by the way. That's like I don't know if that's the correctest name.
Technically, it's Rocket Pop, isn't it?
Yeah, Rocket's the original.
That's the trademarked one, right?
I think so.
So Liberty Pop is the generic.
Yeah,
that's what we're going with.
Yeah.
I don't care.
We're doing the thing.
Days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys. mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?
Okay, let's get to the current events because I've got a lot. Some of these are fun, some of these are
freaking windy.
First thing is,
Oh my gosh,
all right. If it hasn't been taken out or gotten under control by the time this comes out, that's terrifying. But as of right now, the fire north of Lake McConaughey it's at over 500,000 acres at 0% contained.
Yeah.
When's the latest update you got on that?
That was this morning.
Okay.
It was like 520 something acres was the last
It was
estimate.
300 last night and it's over 500.
It was 450 last night. It was It was over. It was like 3:30 yesterday morning.
Yes.
Okay.
And by the end of the day, it was over, and so now it's over 500,000.
I have no concept of what an acre
Of
is.
acres.
But
I said that.
Okay,
exact
so
that
same
seems like
manner.
a lot.
I went through and figured it out. So at 330,000 acres, if you can imagine a 25 by 25 square mile.
Okay, so that's huge.
From here to Crawford up to Ulrichs,
That's
that
huge.
whole square completely taken. Now it's bigger than that. It's probably closer to, what would that be, like 30, 33, 35 miles. So it'd be closer to so from here down to the Hemmingford cutoff,
Right.
all the way over to
And squared off.
Yep, and that whole, so literally all of the property from here to Hemmingford cutoff down to the Crawford cutoff, all the way up to Crawford. Imagine that whole area
That's
having been in a fire.
That's a huge fire.
Yeah, it's a big.
It's funny because it's not funny, but when you look at a map, Lake McConaughey looks so big.
Yeah.
And you see Lake McConaughey, and then you zoom out, and this thing is like McConaughey is like this little blip, and the fire is like this.
Yeah.
It's like,
crazy.
gee.
Well, and this wind is ridiculous. The wind is
we had
not helping at all.
I had
we had a
like,
branch down in the backyard.
blowing dust warnings on my phone.
Ours?
Which I've never
My
seen.
mailbox was full of dust
got
yesterday
blown over.
Did it?
In a couple spots?
because I live right on the edge of town. My mailbox was full of sand.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was
Bennett was terrified.
there was
all
dust blowing in spots across the road that you literally just couldn't see, like at all.
So the fire as of last night was the largest wildfire in Nebraska history.
It jumped that very quickly,
Yeah.
like
And-
within probably 6 or 8 hours of it taking off.
And we're a
It
ways
was-
from McConaughey.
30 total
and
hours to get from 0
the
to
smoke.
450,000
Yeah.
acres. Or
The
something.
smoke in Alliance, it looks like a thin fog,
Which is wild because
because we're really far away.
Well, and that's
There's
the thing.
one in Custer as well.
yeah, that's
yeah.
true. That's true.
I think that's what we were
I
getting
looked
smoke from yesterday.
So no, I looked up the thing and what it is. So it's the wind, and it's like the circle effect of the wind.
coming back
So
by
it's
itself.
both. It's sucking the smoke
picking them
in,
both up.
bringing it up, and then taking the smoke from that fire and bringing it back down. And so it's both,
dude.
But all things considered, we're still pretty decently far away from both of those fires, and it still was just like
Yeah, that's like
thick.
2 hours
Yeah,
as the crow flies.
yeah.
Like
I can only I would bet, knowing when we get like smoke from like Canada, I can imagine where
Yeah,
all this
that's
smoke
true.
is going east.
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Did you guys see some of the aerial shots?
Yeah.
Of that
Yeah.
fire?
It's crazy,
my
dude.
goodness.
It almost
actually
some of
haven't
them look
seen
like a sunset, and it's just the fire.
You first see it and you're like, oh, that's a really pretty. Oh
seen
wait,
that
that's
before.
a fire. Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
I haven't seen any of this fire, but I've seen I've seen that in
crazy.
person before.
scary stuff. Mm-hmm. So give us some good news.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is actually, my opinion, the most. Both sides of the political parties can agree on this.
They won.
So Texas just passed a law that if a drunk driver takes the life of somebody that had kids that are under 18, they now have to pay child support to those kids until they're out of the system or whatever.
When you said, I think everybody can agree to this, I was ready to disagree because I just like to disagree with you. But there is no way I can disagree with that.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, no.
I can't.
I love it. I love it.
The only thing that I disagree with is why did it take so long for that to become
Agree.
law?
Mm-hmm.
And why is that not a national law?
Why is,
I was gonna say, why is it
not
just
the
Texas?
standard?
Yeah, why is
that not just the standard? Like if your life choices directly affect somebody else's life on that level, you should now be responsible for those kids.
Agree.
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
There's no disagree. You can't.
How do you disagree with that?
You can't give me any justification that can make me disagree with that.
Yeah. How do you disagree with that? That's a great law.
As much as I like to disagree with you. I can't disagree on this. Okay. Not at all.
Next piece of fun. This is fun information. So first we got Daddy Yankee, who's now Father Yankee.
Yep.
We call him that because he's a Christian now.
I was like,
and he put out a Christian album.
Puppy.
We also now have Paul Wall.
Yeah, I saw that.
He did a thing with Forrest Frank.
Yeah.
Forrest Frank came out and Paul Wall and bro, do you know who Paul Wall is? That might be us generation.
Yeah, Paul Wall's
boys in the day.
Yeah, you showed me like
yeah. I didn't know his name.
Yeah.
Fine.
I played the song for Courtney. She's like, I've never heard that before. I was like,
he played one. I was like, that's Nelly, and he's like, featuring Paul Wall, and I was like,
that was
okay.
Paul Wall was in a lot of people's
Grills.
tracks.
Yes.
He was a lot of
But the couple, he did have a couple that were his. But yeah, anyway, so he's a Christian now. All right. This one, I think you guys probably have heard, but I want to preface it with something different. So off the coast of California, there has been a super pod of dolphins of over 2,000 different species, all swimming in the same pond.
Wait. Are they communicating with Gerald, the Florida dolphin?
That's what I wanted to get into. That's why I wanted to preface with the California.
I want to meet Gerald. Can we get Gerald on the show?
Gerald's in Florida. So if you don't know what Gerald is, do you guys know who Gerald is?
Gerald the dolphin?
Let me tell you about Gerald. Okay.
Please do.
So,
yes. Gerald the dolphin.
This, like,
in
Punch
Florida.
The monkey?
In Florida, this is amazing.
This
Florida,
is weird stuff. Like it started as a joke.
Was a man.
And it's like they're saying it's legit. Like it's in the news. Like
so there's a man who is claiming that dolphins kidnapped him and forced him to
while he was swimming
to build an underwater city. So he's found on the shores of an island.
He's a high level constructional engineer too. This isn't just a nobody. Like this guy's known for his like structural engineering.
He's a structural engineer who's experienced with building underwater like things.
Oh my
god! This story is wild.
Yeah,
it's tough to take serious, but it's wild and it's fun. So the authorities say that he claimed that dolphins kidnapped him and forced him to build an underwater city. And so he has a degree in aerospace engineering.
That's what it is.
And has experience building underwater. He said that the dolphin that was handling his breathing was named Gerald, who would basically create a air bubble for him in order to breathe while he's doing this underwater building.
Yeah.
So Gerald took care of all of it. Gerald took care of this guy. Okay, I don't know what this guy's name is, but the dolphin was Gerald.
And who cares what his name is? Gerald is.
So they took him to the hospital
because he was dehydrated. They found him on the beach, dehydrated.
So they took him to the hospital. Okay, no damage wrong with his body, no drugs, no nothing like that. But his lungs were filled with marine particles, but there was no damage.
Right. And they said marine particles on the level of someone who had spent a lot of time underwater, like marine biologists who spend it in underwater labs and things. They said it legit like could have been underwater for a long period of time.
So there is proof of this. He had built an elaborate blueprint on the shore.
What?
There was there was
sand.
The blueprint on the sand.
Okay, I was like, in order to get the blue paper.
Yeah.
No, it was on the sand.
Yeah.
So he built this elaborate blueprint on the sand, on the shore. And he said that after 3 days of building this underwater city with like condos and all, they're mapping this thing. They were like building this thing.
Some hardworking dolphins.
The dolphins were satisfied and let him go, but they told him that they'd be back so that he can continue because they're going to need him in the future so that they'll let him go. They let him go after 3 days, but that they'll get him
and told him nobody's going to believe you anyway, so you can go ahead and tell everybody about us. Yeah.
And they communicated through telepathy.
Yeah. Through clicking and telepathy. Yeah.
Which maybe we should have saved this because that would have been a great transition into the show.
A little teaser.
A little teaser for what we're going to be talking about today.
I'm genuinely so mad at you for not
crazy.
realizing that before, because I heard you say telepathy. I was like, dang it.
Nothing
don't worry.
makes my day like ruining Phil's chance for a smooth transition.
I have so much stuff that has to do with brains and communicating. We'll have natural transitions.
So like
our current events.
Here's another one too.
underwater alien abductions via dolphins.
The Simpsons have an episode about dolphins that kidnap somebody at the beach too. I saw that. The Simpsons. There was a Simpsons episode about
no way.
Well, we know that
a dolphin leader who wants to be the new captain.
The script. So
Gosh.
Yeah, that's true.
It's crazy. No, anything weird with dolphins just makes me think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, I love that movie.
Dolphins are freaky, dude.
Love that
dude.
movie.
Well, and let's remember for a second, it is illegal to communicate with dolphins.
It is.
But is it illegal for dolphins to communicate with you?
Obviously not.
No.
This was clearly an abduction.
It is illegal. It is illegal for the listener. There's a random listener who's like, "What?"
It's just opened a whole new
Google
world
it.
for
It is illegal to communicate, to attempt to communicate with dolphins.
Yep. And the penalty is bigger than
it's a fat penalty.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's a big old nasty penalty if you get caught trying to communicate with dolphins.
It's not illegal to communicate with Bigfoot. It's not illegal to communicate with bears. It's not illegal to communicate with endangered elephants. But it is illegal.
Birds, it's encouraged to try to communicate with birds.
Yeah.
Because birds aren't real.
It's wild. Yeah.
What a wild world.
What? Phil didn't believe us. He had to Google it.
No, I just was curious what it was going to be.
I was just curious.
Penalties can include fines up to $100,000 and up to a year in jail per violation.
Yeah. Just for trying to communicate with a dolphin.
While simple verbalizing for distance trigger penalties, trying to interact, touch, feed, or get their attention.
What if the dolphins are in charge and we're just pawns in the dolphin world?
It's considered harassment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're almost considered citizens of the ocean, really. Like we have to.
Why?
Yeah. Gerald has some contract.
So now we got this. Now let's go back to we got this super pod of 2,000 dolphins off the coast of California, and they're talking about how things are getting crazy in California.
Different races of dolphins coming together in unity.
Yeah, in unity outside the coast of California
because they built a city,
and our government is like warning California, hey, there might be terror attacks.
Wait a minute, it was Florida that
it was Florida that this happened. Yeah.
Florida man and the dolphins.
Florida man's building the condo and deep in the ocean.
Condos.
And 2,000 dolphins in California are
somebody get on Google Earth and find the dolphin condo.
They chose him
for real. See what they're building.
They chose him to be Aquaman.
Probably
at that
black.
point.
Like
he wasn't just like I'm crazy and I think they chose him.
Now, who told Gerald that this guy knew what he was doing about building underground structures?
They probably just they were like,
use the dolphin internet?
Well, if they can communicate through telepathy, they probably already know everything within his brain. So they were like, so he's swimming, and they were like,
let's be real, guys.
And they told him, they're like, ooh, and there we got him.
Lizard
we got
people,
him, ladies and gentlemen.
Dolphin
we got him.
We get him out here about 10 more feet, and we got him.
What'd you say, Courtney? What'd you say?
I just said lizard people and now dolphin people.
What is 2026, bro? I don't understand this timeline.
This is what happens when you start colliding things in a giant circle.
Oh gosh! It's one of those things, and this is one of those stories that it is fun.
It's so
hilarious.
Wild.
It's so unbelievable. But there are certain details about it that I am genuinely confused about.
And that the media is
just enough there.
Taking it fairly serious. Like it's a joke, but it's fairly serious. Like there's details to it that you can't debunk.
And everyone's just laughing at it.
Well, really, Gerald? The greatest part of that was when he said, and Gerald told me that I can tell you guys because it's not a big secret because you're not going to believe me anyway. That was the part that cracked me up. I was like, he's right.
Okay.
If this is true, he's right.
Dark theory.
Oh boy.
Dun, dun, dun.
That it was actually our government who needed somebody that was disposable that would never remember the plans because they're building an underwater base
facility.
off of Florida. And so they just MK Ultra'd him
Yeah.
and
Changed his
implanted
memory?
his memory so that they could have a pure, perfect situation where
Yep.
the designer is no
And
longer.
Gerald is actually his human handler.
And so now nobody would know the information of this base as far as the design goes because the one guy who designed all of it is now no longer.
Does that
people
mean
taking
they
it
have
seriously.
the tech?
Why you got to make
breathe
this so
underwater?
real? I would
and
venture
Gerald
to
was his
say.
handler.
Sorry, I'm deflecting because that's.
I would venture to say
horrifying.
at this point in our tech development in the government and things being hidden, I would be wildly surprised if we don't have underwater bases
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
that we work on.
But
and
this
bring
was-
people to
this
work
was
on that
more-
don't know
yeah.
they're being there. It's like when they used to fly people to Area 51.
Right.
We just submarine people and convince them
Yeah,
that it
we
was dolphins.
1,000,000% have.
Gosh, why you gotta
Exactly.
make so much
Ocean
sense?
I know.
Anyway, I don't know. It was fun.
I don't know.
But nobody believes him.
Nobody believes it.
Okay, we're good.
Gerald the dolphin.
Gerald, the dolphin.
cabal.
We believe it.
led
The
by
dolphin.
Gerald.
Imagine going.
All right.
Imagine World War III is humans versus dolphins.
I mean,
Yep.
Australia had Australians versus emus. So.
All right, don't worry. Hey, you want your brain to be a little. Yeah, for real. All right, so we're gonna. This is still fun, but this gets a little dark, but not like in like a spiritual dark way, but in like a. The implications of this are really bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh no.
Australian researchers at Cortical Labs trained 200,000 lab-grown human neurons on a microelectrode
Oh, yeah.
chip
Saw
to
that.
play the 1993 game Doom, demonstrating that living biological networks can learn and adapt to virtual environments. The cells receive electrical signals representing the game state and respond with actions like moving or shooting, showcasing a step forward in advancing biological computing.
Sorry, all I heard was you can literally run Doom on anything.
You can run Doom
On brain goo.
on brain goo that was manufactured in a lab.
Yeah.
I watched the video
I
of it.
understand that is a very.
So I watched the video of it. You're literally watching Doom, and this brain goo is turning, shooting, turning, finding its way through the maze, and it's literally playing Doom. Wild.
Wait, it's not
nuts.
running it; it's playing it.
It's literally playing Doom. It's the one playing it, not running it.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not as fun. It's not as fun. All right. Speaking of that theme, what did you want to say? Something?
I was
Go
gonna
for
say,
it. Do it.
I have
'Cause
something with that too.
My quick rapid fire thing is because if you're talking about like making a human brain, making matter from nothing. Have you seen that Sabrina Carpenter is apparently a clone of Hillary Clinton?
Yes.
I've seen that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Seen that one. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So yeah. So playing a game, a brain,
theory.
they've already been cloning. So like,
So, I have a theory. I don't think they're clones. I think it goes to just for fun. I'm just
her.
for fun. Just for fun. That it's the thing where they're out of bodying them when we talked about the queen and all
transfer
that stuff.
consciousness.
Yeah.
So they're transferring the consciousness to somebody who looks similar. And
Yes.
but then their mannerisms begin to take shape because their consciousness is in that.
yeah.
Anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so
That's
what I'm
saying.
hearing is
Oh.
don't let Sabrina Carpenter into office.
Because people
Got
were
it.
like, so why clone her?
Which, I mean, here in about 20 years, you watch, she'll be running for office.
Dude, we haven't even talked about Nicki Minaj speaking at like
That's okay.
White House
We don't need
press
to.
conferences
We don't
and
need to.
stuff. So it's already happening.
She went full blown MAGA.
Okay, I got something with
Which
the
is
brain goo.
genuinely crazy
That's
for
the
somebody
most
in her position.
that
Like-
plot
I mean,
twist of the year.
she's-
Yeah, in her position, that is really radical.
She's advocating for like religious freedoms and
Yeah.
to stop the
Yeah.
persecution and killing of Christians in Nigeria. So
Which is,
I'm for that.
somebody from
No,
her
I saw-
platform needs to do that.
I think it's actually more powerful of a platform that she's coming from a place where she doesn't. I mean, she kind of expresses that that's her faith, but I don't really buy it. But yeah,
Yeah.
someone who's not of that faith saying, "Hey,
Right.
let's,
I had
let's
forgotten.
advocate for Christian beliefs. Let's make sure that people of all beliefs can, not be martyred
Yeah.
for their beliefs.
Yeah.
I'm for that.
Yeah,
So,
I forgot. I saw a short clip of an interview from her a couple months
Yeah.
ago of like saying some really reasonable things. I was like,
I know.
what?
Like she put
what
on
is,
like
you know,
a great outfit
have you-
and like
have you watched
had like
the-
a whole press briefing and like had her whole statement and she was
Yeah.
like super nervous and stuff, but she like
Have you guys
spoke very well on it.
have you guys
So-
watched the interview with Terry Crews on Lecrae?
I sent that to you. I haven't watched it.
You didn't watch the whole thing.
I've seen
That
clips.
you
Lecrae
saying
has a
it to me
podcast?
enticed me into watching. Yeah.
Lecrae.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Terry Crews
So
and
Lecrae's-
his wife. They're both
Do you know
friends.
who
They're
Lecrae is?
awesome.
No.
So Lecrae, he's a rapper, and he was a Christian rapper. Then he was a secular rapper. He won a bunch of Grammys and stuff like that. He's super well known.
One
But
of the
he
first
walked
really
away.
popular Christian
Like-
rappers.
But he walked away from
It
his faith.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I'm just not familiar.
He walked away from his faith, deconstructed that kind of stuff. But fans had been calling it for like 5 years. And he finally is admitting, like, oh, yeah, the fans were right. I was deconstructing. I was walking away from my faith. I was starting to do drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And now he's finding his way back into his faith. And so he's doing a podcast and kind of talking about that. So he had Terry Crews, who is a
Actually
Christian.
gets a lot of big names.
Yeah, he had Terry Crews on the show, who is a Christian. Terry Crews is talking about how that just when you're in that world, you're always acting. Even when you're at parties with people, you're acting because you have to be. So Terry Crews is talking about how he's like, I was walking around the party handing out in the clip you sent me. He's like, I was walking around the party handing out cigars. I don't even smoke cigars. And he's like, I don't smoke. And I was walking around handing things out and just addressing a little provocatively. And my wife was calling me out. And I was like, no, that's Terry Crews. That's who I have to be here. And so he was talking about how like, even when, yeah, I'll move that. Sorry. Even when he's like, it's not just on the screen when you're acting, you have to present that image everywhere you go. And I wonder how much of the celebrity world, I want to know, I feel like it would do them a great service if all of them would just stop acting, be themselves, only act on screen. And I feel like Nicki Minaj is one of those where, and she could still be acting.
She could still be.
And we don't know. And
but
that's
she's
the
actually
problem.
speaking to important issues at the very least.
Right. But she could be doing, it could be somebody who literally goes, hey, there's not very many artists that represent the right radical, the more MAGA-ish people.
Conservative side.
I'm gonna go pander to them. And it could be completely
opportunistic.
fake. Yeah.
It could be opportunistic.
We don't know.
It could be.
But anyway.
It is bringing national and global attention to something
yes.
that we've been talking about for
I don't
months.
think
I
the
do
effect
highly-
can be
I-
bad, but the motive might be.
Yeah.
I do highly recommend anybody who's into podcasts and you're listening to this to go and check out the Terry Crews. I love Terry Crews. He's one of my
wanna
favorite
watch
actors.
the whole thing.
I read he's got some awesome books. But anyway, the Lecrae interviews, it's Lecrae, Terry Crews, and Terry Crews' wife, who's on the podcast. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
But anyway, you were going to say something onto the
Oh, brain goo.
brain goo.
So where I came across that brain goo thing with the doom and the brain goo is there's a company that will put you on a waiting list to store your memories and your personality.
I have a current event on this.
Yeah. And they will store this stuff and they don't have any way to do it yet. But you can get on you can pay to get on their waiting list. And then once you're on the waiting list, once they have the tech, they can download your brain and then you can either later on, they'll either create a biological body or they will create a mechanical body to put that brain memory in.
Kind of like
Wow.
Samuel Hayden and Doom.
And they didn't realize as they started to do it that the human brain holds 2.5 petabytes. Each brain holds 2.5 petabytes of information.
I don't like the way you frame that.
Peta?
Petabytes.
Peda.
Peta.
Peta.
I want to run with that because I have a current event that is in the exact same line unless you're not done.
Right. Well, I'm just saying the problem is power.
So
There not enough power on the planet to fuel that many petabytes. Thank you very much. For more than like 12 people.
Right.
There's just not enough energy on the planet
Allegedly.
to do that. Allegedly. So they're creating these brain goos as a alternative storage.
External hard drive.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
the reason I like the way you framed that. Each brain,
From what I saw, from what I read, yeah.
per RAM stick. Like no. I don't
Get your
like
little bottle of brain goo that holds
So-
your memory in it.
the implication I hear from that is that we have a lot of power in our bodies to be able to like retain all of that
Yes.
and keep this functioning.
Yeah.
And I hear power source and I hear money and I hear farming humans. Like that's the
I mean,
that's
it's
the,
not-
the,
yeah.
the logical progression that I
Exactly.
hear and I hate it.
All right. So to continue on that, because we can't branch off, because I literally have a current event on that.
Go straight.
Nice.
So scientists have just successfully copied a fruit fly's brain onto a computer.
That's
This
same company, I think.
Fruit fly, yes, it is. Neuron by neuron. They literally just copy pasted it. No training data, no machine learning, no teaching, nothing at all. They literally just copy pasted it into the computer. The fly immediately gets up and begins living its life as though it were a real fly. So it proves that the brain's processing, so like it copy pasted it literally into the computer program. The fly immediately begins just doing what flies do. It didn't need taught how to walk. It didn't need taught anything. It literally just did what
just
fruit flies do.
It was
a
same
fruit fly, and it's just in the computer. And so they are now working. So the fruit fly has 140,000 neurons. The human
I know.
brain has 86 billion neurons. And so they're now working with working on a mouse, which I can't remember how many neurons. I didn't write that down. Yeah. But the theory is that this is proof that the first digital AI won't be a computer program.
Nope.
It will be a copy-pasted human who they then make be artificial.
They give it the speed of an AI, but with the, I hate to use the word soul, but like the humanity of a human, I suppose. Yeah, so it's got the mannerisms and the emotions and all that stuff.
Did they like
which is
create
scary.
a simulation for the fly brain to put it into, or like what do you mean it just got up and started doing fly stuff? Where?
Yeah.
Within they created a human world.
Yeah, in a simulation.
In the simulation,
that's what I was trying to.
Which is where they were going with it too. They said once we start storing human brains, if we get to that point in 100, 200, 300 years, we start storing brains, will they exist in our world with a body, or do we create a virtual world that they live in?
Stop it.
I know.
Stop it.
Or did they already do it and we're already here?
Die.
No.
That.
I thought of that too. I just wasn't going to speak of it.
I hate it.
Now,
thanks, I hate
it. But all of this research, the brain goo, the fly, all of that.
Brain goo sounds like a brand. That's a good brand.
Brain goo.
I know.
Brain goo.
Copyrighted.
Yep.
Trademarked.
Registered.
We said it first. So this research basically is what they're trying to do is to merge biological systems with traditional hardware on both ways. So they got the brain goo that they're connecting to computers, and then they got the flies, and then now they're mapping out the mouse neuron for neuron, and taking it and making it digital, and so they're literally approaching it from both sides.
Yeah.
In order to create.
So do you think it's
intelligence.
all like the workings of the same entity doing all of this, or do you think that it's separate entities in competition with each other trying to get there first?
I think it's a bunch of sociopaths that their curiosity is beating out their humanity.
I think it's different.
Age of Ultron.
Yeah, I think it's different entities, but all being pushed and funded and directed towards the
Eventually
same goal
by BlackRock.
But
it's Gerald.
by the elites. Whatever you want, whatever
Gerald's
entity
running
you
the
want
experiments.
Gerald.
Can I since
Listen,
I
if
said
Gerald's a fan
BlackRock,
and Gerald's listening right now, we'd love to have you on the show.
can I
No.
Click.
Can I mention that real quick?
Do what?
Can I mention that since I just brought up
I
BlackRock
said what?
real quick? So like a couple days ago, I within like we were watching YouTube and stuff, and it comes up with the curated ads and stuff. Never seen any commercials for either three of these things, and then all of a sudden I had an ad for all three of these things within like an hour of each other. It was like candles, and then like backup generators, and then a BlackRock commercial about how look at the great things that BlackRock is doing. And I was like, oh.
Just throw those things together.
I think the research for my books has kind of leaked into my ad preferences. Anyways, I was like, oh, this is very apocalyptic.
The rhythm is everywhere.
But
Then who's?
Yeah. So no, that was I'm trying to. You just rolled your eyes at me, but I'm trying to
roll
think
my eyes
of
at
a
you.
segue, and so I wasn't ignoring you. I promise.
the main
It
thing?
wasn't just to you. I just thought it was kind of a flop for me.
No, not at all. That was good. And
Wait,
but you're
hold on.
basing it on
I'm
my
gonna-
reaction, and my reaction was trying to think
Not
of a
just
thing.
yours.
Here, I have a transition.
Everyone's.
I'm communicating it to Tanner.
Okay.
That's the transition.
Oh.
You friggin'.
So what Phil just
I got
told
the
me
message.
was
I got the message.
what Phil just told me was
Check for accuracy.
your consciousness is software, and so proving it can be copied and pasted, but is it bound to your body?
That's exactly
That's
what
exactly
I was
word for word. How did you? Oh man, you must have telepathy.
I must.
Bravo.
You must be telepathic.
Well, actually, more specific. Actually, Tanner does. Tanner has it.
Oh, that's
I'm
a good.
just the-
Okay.
Oh yeah, that would
So-
the person
So
receiving would be.
who is telepathic? The person receiving or the person sending, or both?
The person receiving.
Oh.
At least.
Can I send a telepathic message to somebody who isn't telepathic and they get the message? Or is it only he receives it because he's reading what's in my brain? I have to send it, don't I?
Right.
No.
Because if he's just reading it, then he's telepathic. He's reading my mind.
Yeah, he's just reading your
But
mind.
you sent it. So who's telepathic?
Yeah.
You don't have to
This
send
is
it.
like the whole occlumency, legitimacy thing from Harry Potter. Because, it's like, do you have to train to guard your mind against
Yeah.
attack like that?
Sorry, I
or
don't
does
speak
that,
that
is that
dialect of
naturally
nerd.
there?
Yeah.
But, or like in our terms, spiritually there, but you have to take down your guard in order for that to be.
I think Phil's
Well, let's-
telepathically in my brain right now. I don't
Let's
like it.
let's just ask.
Get out of there, Phil.
No. It's cool in here.
I have never thought about that before because, like, you think about communication. There's the person that is communicating and the person that's receiving. That's how communication works. If nobody's here to hear it, it's not communication.
Let's ask Prime Force.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Prime Force. Allow.
All right. Prime number. Let's do this.
All right, Prime Force. Okay.
Prime time.
Someone who is telepathic, is the person sending the telepathy the one who's telepathic, or is it the one who receives the message who is telepathic?
I kind of don't like that. Oh, sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean you.
So that's not what I got from the episodes of the telepathy tapes that I listened to.
Yeah.
Did
So-
you guys listen to them?
I've listened to a ton,
But I don't like that
actually,
because then I'm putting the message in your brain. It's kind of an inception thing. That's scary.
That's
So I did something a little different. I didn't tell you guys what I was going to do because I did a ton of research on telepathy tapes when we did the past ones. Okay.
Yeah.
And I knew Mike was going to be the expert and he was going to do a lot of digging and research and stuff.
Yeah.
So I just I'm resting on the research I did do. But as I was researching, I discovered that the Hill is a completely separate thing from the telepathy tapes. The telepathy tapes talk about it, but it exists in
Outside
the
of that.
research world outside of the telepathy tapes. And in fact, a lot of people who are doing research on the Hill are very critical of the way that the telepathy tapes have communicated it and the ways that they have represented it on the show. And so I then
seen that.
decided I am only going to research the Hill and see what ends up happening on this episode.
And I'm excited because we started talking about it and
never even
breaking
heard
it
of the
apart, and we're like, "Wait, time out. Let's stop talking right now because I don't want us to make any discoveries or agreements just yet because we don't see this thing the same way." But
Right.
it could be 100% could be just the research that we came across is pointing to a certain direction or a certain angle to all the stuff we're going to talk about.
Right. So to give you guys an idea of what the telepathy tapes are. So the telepathy tapes is a podcast / research that is being done on
project
research
project
that is being done by one specific
Yeah.
person who is working with families and other people who are recording, and they're just, it's like a whole production.
Yeah.
They tried to do a documentary on Netflix and it was denied, basically. And so they decided to do a podcast instead.
Yeah.
It's now, I feel it's going for a few seasons. I've only listened to the first season, I believe.
Yeah.
And basically the concept is that people who, not necessarily just autism, but people who are non-verbal or what is the term they like? Non-speaking?
Non-speaking. It's different than non-verbal.
Yes, because
Non-verbal means I can't talk, but I can still communicate.
Yes.
There's some of both,
They
right?
specifically know. So digging into this a little bit, because I wanted to dig in from the psychology part of it. It started with, they were looking at savant autism.
Yeah.
And there was some crazy savant stuff out there. There's a guy that they flew him over Paris. He'd never been there. Flew over Paris once, and he
seen
did a
that.
huge mural of the entire city, and it's accurate after seeing it one time. I've written papers on some composers like Mozart. I'm pretty sure Mozart was savant autistic. He went and heard a 3.5 hour opera and went home and wrote it down note for note with no mistakes. They have never found any mistakes in any of his transcripts. I'm pretty sure he fits that bill. I personally know, I know a young man that if you tell him a date in history, any date in history, you could say October 14th, 1842. He'll tell you what day of the week it was.
I've seen somebody like that on TikTok.
Instantly. And I know him personally, so I know it's not a fake thing.
I was going to say, there's people that, there's a trick to that. You can figure it out very quickly, but that's different.
But his
seen
brain
that on,
just works like that. And I've seen math
as a kid.
they're human calculators, and I've seen
they can, math is
and
insane.
that's where this started. And then it came to the parents of these non-speaking.
Can I interrupt you really quick?
Yeah.
One of the coolest things about this from doing my research that I've grown in is recognizing assumed intelligence.
Yes.
So often, our society assumes a low intelligence based off of the response you get from somebody who is autistic or anything like that.
Yeah.
If they can't communicate very clearly, you assume they're not intelligent.
Right.
And that's just simply not true. In fact, Harvard just admitted a student who's non-speaking, and who the way they communicate is through the different ways that they communicate. And this person, it's a young girl who is already working on her doctorates right off the bat. She's 16 years old, and it's very intelligent.
Right.
But so often we assume low intelligence that it has caused me to grow a lot in my recognition of, it doesn't matter, young, old, all everything in between. There's an assumed intelligence, and our society assumes a low intelligence, and we need to move past that.
Right.
But,
and I agree.
I agree with
I agree with you 100%. I'm glad you brought that up too, because
a very practical
none
thing
of
I
this,
got from this.
no matter what we're saying about the telepathy tapes or autism or anything like that, none of it assumes any kind of intelligence level.
Well, it's imagine,
it has nothing to do with intelligence.
Stephen Hawking, no matter, but maybe now that he's on the Einstein list and all that other stuff, maybe we think a little differently about it, but he was very intelligent. And so imagine,
for the point of what we're saying,
imagine you walked up to Stephen Hawking's and he responds with tapping, and you're like, oh, sir, would you like cartoons on?
Yeah.
And he's sitting here mapping out black holes.
We are the very first,
and we're like, but if you didn't know that, you're assumed would be elementary.
We are the very first generation in the history of the world that we know of that has recognized that.
Yeah.
Literally.
And
because 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, people were put in homes. If you couldn't communicate, you were put in a home.
Immediately.
Because you couldn't function. We are the first society to actually recognize that.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Beyond anything we talk about today.
Right.
That is something that is really cool.
Yeah. And so we want to really push that and make sure that you understand, all the listeners understand that too.
From the telepathy tapes to the Hill, that is one thing that I do feel like both parties, that whole, whatever they're doing, whether real, not real, whatever, that is the number one thing that they're advocating is no longer assuming intelligence anymore. You let them demonstrate intelligence and listen long enough to understand, because how painful if you're interested in, engineering and they just keep setting you in front of cartoons of Ninja Turtles.
Yep.
That's torture.
Yeah.
Yep. But anyway,
why are you hating on the Ninja Turtles?
But
so we had
I love the Ninja Turtles. I'm not that smart, so I guess.
And I don't.
What does that say about me?
I don't want to identify, but I know a young man who, when he was in school, and I don't want to give any identifiers or anything, and maybe he might even listen to the podcast. That would be really cool if he did. But but I know a student that way back in the day, one of the teachers that was thinking the projector and things in her room, the internet and stuff were like glitching out. And she kept getting mad and calling the tech people, and they'd come in and say, it's just fine. It's fine. And they'd come in. This young nonverbal, he wasn't non-speaking. He used eye gaze. He used the eye gaze technology. He was using his eye gaze computer to hack into her projector and mess with her projector during class. So you can't tell me there was a high intelligence.
Oh,
there.
that's an extremely
very high intelligence. Yeah. He was using his eye gaze computer to hack the projector and hack the internet in her room to mess with her during like demonstrations and videos and stuff.
Wild.
Yeah. Which was awesome. And just cool. Mischievous, but at the same time, same thing.
Very much.
But so back to the Telepathy Tapes.
Continue.
So we early on in these tapes, we have these parents that are just saying, I think my child is trying to communicate with me. And they're very sincere and very, and a lot of it, as much as I hate to say it,
tapes. This is before.
This is what led to the Telepathy Tapes.
Okay.
Is they're saying, I feel like my son or daughter, I feel like they're trying to talk to me, and I feel like they're trying to communicate with me, and they're putting thoughts into my brain and talking to me in my brain. And so the psychologist in me is saying, this is a parent who is longing to communicate with their child. This is a parent who loves their child and wants to see their child find their place in this world, and which is a very real thing for parents of kids with disabilities. And so that's kind of where this started. And so they started doing research, and they would have the researcher in one room, and they would have a facilitator in the other room. Now, at that time, there was a new technique coming out for non-speaking students to be able to communicate called facilitated communication, or FC. Right. And so they would use FC. Now, how they would do that was they would train these facilitators to hold the other person's arm, hold their hand over a computer keyboard, and they would type. They were basically just reading the muscle tone of the person to type the messages. Right. It was legit enough that universities and stuff did research. They were training people. It was getting into schools. They were doing this for these kids that were non-speaking, right? There was some skepticism, but like a lot of times with education, if it seems to be helping, like some of these kids that wouldn't have gone to college are now going to college. It seemed to be helping. And so anything that seems to be helping, we rarely in education, I hate to say it, we rarely debunk it.
Yeah.
If we see the numbers going up, we don't debunk it.
Yeah.
Right.
We don't try to figure out why it's happening.
Yeah.
We just assume that it's working and we go, which is, an issue in education, if you ask me. But the problem with this was one woman, they did a documentary about her. Her name was Anna Stubblefield. And she was kind of the head trainer of these facilitators. She worked out of, I got to look at my research here. She worked out of Rutgers, and she would train these facilitators. Well, she had her own students that she would do this with too. Well, she had one student that was in college that she had started working with in high school, went to college, was doing great in college, turning in these like high level papers, and people were like, I don't know, he just doesn't seem, and again, that could, by all means could just be this, understood intelligence thing. We tend to do that. But with this, all of a sudden she started trying to file for him to live with her and went to the family, told the family that he was writing her love letters and they had been in love and they had an, inappropriate adult relationship, and she had been doing all these things. And when they looked at the records, because it's all on record because it was on a computer, when they look at the records, it was things like, you are so beautiful and, everything about you, you're an amazing woman. She ended up divorcing her husband to be with this young man, right? And so it started an investigation. And she actually went to prison, and so she actually pushed for the investigation too. She's like, we got to prove that this FC thing is real, that it's not just, I equate it to like it was like a human Ouija board.
Yeah.
It was their subconscious.
Yeah.
And so psychologically what she was doing was she was projecting what she wanted to hear about herself. What would the perfect man say about me and say to me, and what makes me feel so loved? And that's what she was doing. She was projecting that through his arm into the keyboard, and she was talking to herself. And so they started research. So getting into the telepathy tapes. So going back, they boast a 90% plus accuracy rate in their telepathy. That these kids can telepathically tell what the facilitator is looking at in the other room.
Yeah.
90 plus percent accuracy.
Very accurate.
Right? Super accurate. Now, as this FC thing came out, because that's the technique they used, right? So they would be looking at it. The facilitator would be looking at a screen of what the other person's looking at, and then they would type out, like if they were looking at a cat.
There were several different methods that the kids had to communicate what was.
Once they went blind, it dropped to almost 0%. It was a luck thing once they went to 0%. When they went double blind, the main facilitator that writes the books and has the actual podcast for Telepathy Tapes refused to do a double blind test. And all those things, because it dropped to 0% when they took that out of it. And part of the debunking of the FC that they did is that they actually used the telepathy tapes to debunk the facilitated communication, because they would have the other person would be looking at an image of a dog. The facilitator would be looking at a picture of a cat, and the person would type cat, even though they're supposed to be reading the other person's mind. So the telepathy tapes would argue that, he's not reading the researcher's mind.
Right.
He's reading the facilitator's mind. So then when they went double blind and stuck a board in between them so the facilitator couldn't see his hands or the keyboard, 0%. So, it totally debunked it. Now, I am a believer in, so don't get me wrong, I'm a huge believer in not necessarily like telepathy like you think of like in the movies, but there is a connection between humans, and I believe in
the same thing.
But yes, I don't know, maybe. What do you got?
So the podcast bits that I've listened to, they were doing like everything they could to prevent any sort of luck or interference with the testing.
Did you listen to the actual telepathy tapes?
I listened to the podcast episode where they set up this recording stuff in the person's home or in like an Airbnb or whatever, and separated mother and daughter, and had screens, reflections, and everything covered up, and the researcher people would write something on a card or something like that and show it to mom, and then the kid would type out on their iPad thing or whatever what they were looking at, and it was ridiculously accurate.
So I just play the middle ground. I'm not going to let you know which side I'm on this, because this is part of my take today. I would argue that's the telepathy tapes saying that they're doing this stuff.
Right. And that's totally fair.
It makes me want to know.
Fair criticism.
And one of the things from the telepathy tapes that's the biggest concern is that they keep talking about how, nobody will take us on. Nobody will do this. And it makes me wonder why.
Yeah.
And so some people who listen to the telepathy tapes, their why is what don't they want us to know? My question is there maybe some legitimacy issues? That's the why. And I don't know either one way or the other.
And Phil, I'm glad you took the other side, because I took the completely debunked side of things.
So,
but there is the legitimate side to it. And when I talked to Tanner about the telepathy tapes, I said this is very much in the psychology world, the flat earther theory of the psychology world.
Yeah.
where the researchers that are doing it, they have legitimate data.
Yeah.
But any experiment that goes against that data that they're trying to create, they don't allow it.
The thing that I think lends legitimacy to it is just the sheer number of people that they have found that are willing to like want to know more about it seems like the people that they do these experiments on seek this out. They're like, what the frick is going on with my kid? Like my kid can read my mind. Somebody explain this to me.
So you are about to become a father. Mm-hmm. You are.
Oh yeah, I don't think we've announced it on the show yet.
Yeah, well, congratulations.
We announced it on the Patreon like twice.
Yeah,
I think we mentioned it.
Yeah,
I think we only mentioned it on the Patreon. We keep forgetting to mention it on the podcast.
I think we talked about it a little bit.
But you are about
By the way,
to.
you have some baby stuff
Congratulations,
you
by
need
the
to take home
way.
with you. So.
You are about to. You are about to gain another understanding of the universe that you've never experienced. Okay, and as a parent. When you look at your kid, you see the most exceptional person you've ever seen in your life.
Oh yeah.
And above all else, and imagine the world telling you that your kid isn't enough and your kid can't communicate and your kid's always going to live at home and never be anything. And you know better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any parent who's ever been told that there's going to be something wrong.
Right.
You know that that's not true in your heart of hearts. You know that's not true. And so I think for a lot of these parents that are seeking it out, they're looking for answers. They're looking for reasons, beyond my kid just sits in a chair and doesn't communicate.
No.
They communicate. They do communicate. Non-speaking people do communicate.
Right.
I know that for a fact. I know some, working in schools and things, they do communicate, just not traditional ways. But like I said, so I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
There was so many people seeking this out and wanting answers, and I'm hearing them talk to me, and I don't understand this.
Well, no, but it's not that.
Yeah.
It's the other way, though.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because that's the reason I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's not how they show's working or the plan is working. And it's pretty consistent from what I've heard. I didn't get to listen to.
And it's not the researchers going out there finding kids. It's these.
No,
the
and
parents,
that's what I'm saying. Like that, and the fact that it's the kid reading someone else's mind, but it doesn't seem like it's ever the other way, because that's like the theme that I was picking up on was like, I don't understand why other people can't get it from them. Like, I'm trying to tell you this with my brain and you're not hearing it.
And I don't want to get too far into the hill because I don't know what Tanner has, but that's the opposite side of it, is that parents started reporting that their kid was getting in there. It wasn't the other way around.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It was the
I didn't
other
make
way
it
around.
that far. Unfortunately, I had a busy week,
it does. That was why that telepathy question came up. Is it the receiver or is it the projector? Who's the actual telepathic person? And just because AI says it doesn't make it true, but
I think that's to stand on honesty here. My biggest criticism, having listened to quite a bit of the telepathy tapes, is I'm being told, and over again, and this is maybe it's one of my red flag things, maybe it's just my tendencies of a human. The more you try to convince me to trust you, the less I trust you. And I got that sense with the telepathy tapes. Yeah, it almost they
just protest too much.
Okay, here's my question.
I feel like they were more than anything, they were trying to convince me to trust them. That makes me trust you less.
Here's my rebuttal to that, because and this is just looking at it from their perspective. If I'm trying to get funding for research on a thing, I'm going to do because the head researcher, Diane Powell, I believe was her name, knows what the holdup is. Like, she knows what the potential issues people are going to have with it are, potential funders. That she's going to try to take everything like that out, right? So like, oh, well, kid might have seen this or felt this or heard this or whatever. It's like, get rid of that. We're gonna eliminate any doubt of the legitimacy of this. So that's the point, right?
But that's the thing. There's a difference between doing it, and telling me
saying you're going to do it.
There's two very big differences. The research on its own can stand on its own.
Okay, my question is,
and the more you try to tell me the research is correct,
I understand.
The less and more I understand. Projecting.
My question is, the people that she's presented this to, have they come out and said, this is why we don't trust this? Because someone can watch, like they can watch and be like, if they set up, because I believe they set up video as well. I haven't gone to the website to see if they show the video.
They show certain videos.
Do they?
Yeah,
okay.
You can't watch all. It's certain videos, and they'll tell you these are the only parents that gave permission.
Okay,
but they'll show certain videos that support what they're doing.
So my question is the potential like funding people, like the scientific community, the whoever's in charge of allowing this to progress and be funded and whatever else, have they given a reason why we're not going to entertain this?
So here, I got one for you.
I would like to know that.
Okay, so the CIA back in the day, Project Stargate, those guys were about 35 to 40% accurate. And the government was funded and hunted them down, and they were part of a government organization.
Right.
You have a bunch of kids that are 90+% accurate in their telepathy, and you're not going to recruit any of these kids.
Very valid.
You're not gonna no government money coming into this funding. That kills some of the legitimacy for me too.
That is a very valid criticism.
Question: how many of the kids that were in the GATE program just had undiagnosed autism?
Oh, that's possible. Yeah.
So maybe they were funding
which I want to get back to too, because that's the thing.
Don't roll your eyes at me. Maybe they were funding it.
Maybe they were. So all of the kids that are part of the telepathy tapes are all non-speaking. They haven't got, and when they get to the Hill, it's a broad spectrum of autism.
The Hill isn't even just autism,
and it's not even just autism.
Syndrome.
And maybe it's people that don't even realize they are autistic because they're on that fringe part of autism. But there are some researchers that I've seen that are doing studies that talk about that in human evolution, that autism is our next step of our body trying to figure out where we go from here. It's our next mutation. And whether it's a positive or negative mutation, we're in a little different world where, early on in humans, if you couldn't function in the world, you got eaten. Now we don't do that anymore. So, autism is a way bigger, and it's a huge spectrum. Yeah. Like autism covers so many different things. So when you say someone, a kid with autism, you got to be more specific because there are so many different types of autism.
Well, now you've even got you've got the autism, ADHD overlap and stuff like that now that didn't exist 10 years ago.
And so that's completely possible. That before autism was a thing, that was part of what they were testing too.
Quick question, Mike, just to fire this off of you, as the skeptic on this one. What do you think the goal of the podcast and that research is? Especially the researcher, specifically, if she knows that nobody's going to pick this up because there's flaws in this because it's not real, what is her goal with continuing to do this
to get funding?
But if she knows that's not going to happen because
I think it's a belief.
Now she's found a different way to get funding.
That's what I was. Yeah,
it's literally. I think it is a literal deep belief. I think she believes.
I think she does too.
Believes in it.
I think she really believes it.
I think she 100% hard believes that this is a thing. And again, I'm not saying it's not a thing. I'm just saying the research they're doing is not showing that this is a thing.
So you're thinking that
because I want
to because we're not getting scientific funding, we're going to get content funding.
So I want possibly. That's just that I'm throwing out.
That's a possibility.
Again,
I'm agreeing.
You guys don't know what I believe.
I'm acknowledging that as a possibility.
Now to kick back against Mike, one form of research that I have been seeing is the spell in which they are assisting the spell or whatever.
Right.
But where they are also tracking their eye movement as well. And so when their eyes track first and then the letter then spells, there's more legitimacy to that because the eyes track it.
And again,
you can confirm
I would believe in an eye gaze experiment if they would do it, but they haven't.
And that's where
Because an eye
the
gaze
Hill-
experiment would be 100% them.
Yes. So that's where the Hill differentiates from the
Right.
telepathy tapes, is because on the Hill they have been.
Yeah.
They've been doing both the
Yeah.
eye and the speak boards.
Yeah.
And the conversations are over a period of 40 minutes rather than
Right.
we're trying to figure this out immediately kind of thing.
Right.
And so that is that is one area of the speak boards research that has been being proven
Yeah.
legitimate, but it's because of the eye move first.
Right.
And then the spell second, and it just kind of speeds up the process
Right.
of the eye spell
Right.
research.
And Phil, I don't know if you've picked up on it or not. I am 100% believer in like psychic abilities and telepathy and all those things. You know, because so I got to thinking about this, and I asked this question on the Discord. I asked, is anybody like, what was the weather like when you were born? Because when I was born during the Big Thompson flood in Colorado. The first floor of my hospital was flooded to the ceiling. That's how bad the flood was. It was a nasty flood that wiped out the first floor of the hospital while I was being born, right? So I have a great aunt who happened to be there for me, which was kind of weird when you think about it, because she didn't even live. She lived in Oklahoma. And she came all the way up here because I was being born. And during this storm, she said to our mom that you're going to have a storm child, so be careful with him. And so I wasn't even sure what a storm child was. I had to look it up. And she, later on, I had talked to her because she would pop in every once in a while. I didn't have a huge communication with her, but she would come in and she said that she was a storm child. Now, if you don't know what a storm child is, in Scandinavian, in Viking lore, if you're born during a lightning storm, thunderstorm, a devastating storm where people die, you are a storm child. You are one of Thor's chosen or something crazy. And so she had a weird connection with me. Like when we got pregnant with my oldest son, when we got pregnant with Caleb, I hadn't talked to her in years. She called she called while we were at mom's house to talk to me. She didn't call me. She called while we were at mom's house and said, "Hey, I had a dream last night. Congratulations on your son." We hadn't even told our parents that we had a positive and stuff. Like, she had some weird stuff going on like that. She would call us and tell us stuff like that. So I 100% believe in
I'd like to pray over
telepathy
her
and psychology
weird
and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, she's no longer with us. Obviously, she was quite a bit older, but there was just weird stuff that she would pop in and say stuff. She wrote a letter to us one time, and I don't even have the letter anymore because I was in college, and just weird stuff that she said that she saw.
Yeah.
And things, but
Tanner's
sorry, I'm laughing.
Tanner's looking at
I'm
me.
laughing because
he's just looking at me and laughing.
We visited a church one time, and one of the older
my
ladies
gosh, stop.
was like, "So when are you expecting baby number 2?" And Courtney was so mad,
Touched my
because she was
stomach.
like, "I'm not even pregnant." She was.
yeah.
by like maybe 2 days.
So again,
But she was.
And my grandpa
Yeah,
did
that's
the
what I'm
same.
saying.
And my grandpa
my-
did the same thing. Like
I was like,
my
2 weeks
skepticism.
before, when I for sure wasn't, and I was wearing the same
yeah.
dress, and I was just like, I'm never wearing this
And
dress.
like you, Tanner, my skepticism
I'm
in this
laughing.
is based on it's based on their number one, their inability to prove it on even a reasonable level,
Right.
And
Totally understand.
and that they are trying so hard,
Right.
and leaving things out. You know, I would believe it if they told me, you know, this is about 35% accurate.
Right.
I'd be like, dude, this is legit, cool. But when they said 90+%, I'm like,
That is tough. And
so anyway, yeah, the storm child thing's always kind of fascinated me too. But that was weird that she would do stuff like that.
Were we all
you know?
supposed to look up what the weather
But-
was like when we were born?
I don't know if you can.
I don't know if I
You
looked
would
up
think
and AI was
somebody
like,
would tell you.
it
I
was
think
me.
my mom-
Do
I
you
would
feel
remember
like
what the
somebody
weather
would
was
tell
like
you.
when?
I think my mom might have had some form
Nothing
of belief
significant
in
that I remember.
It was a
because
Friday.
I know. Yeah, I was born on a Tuesday, and I knew that, and she said that the weather was just very temperate and mild and stuff,
Yeah.
and it was just like me. And then it was like one of the most mild winters right afterwards. I mean, kind of just like what we're going through, except now it's all wildfires.
And here's
stuff.
the other thing,
And then my
too,
sister,
yeah.
and she would always she would also keep talking and be like, and then your sister was born in the middle of a snowstorm, and my
You might
sister.
be storm children.
So yeah.
I was born on a Monday.
Monday. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
all right, let's transition a little bit. Okay, wait. The last thing I want to say about the telepathy tapes again.
Yes.
None of you guys know where I'm currently standing on it. I'm doing that on purpose so that I can speak to the hill a little different.
Just so you can get a bigger view at the end. And
No, not at all. Genuinely,
He said it, not me.
genuinely, I just wanted to play devil's
whatever.
advocate.
We know you. It's okay.
I wanted to play devil's advocate
It's
to
okay.
everybody. And so the thing about the telepathy tapes is one way or the other, it is something that I do encourage people to look into on your own and discern. Like, be discerning as you listen. But if it is real, how cool. If it's not, how scary and dangerous.
What bothers me is it's a human Ouija board. That's what bothers
Yes.
me. It's essentially, if it is your subconscious
Right.
that is causing you to move their hand to spell things, to me, that is a human
So
Ouija board.
when in those cases, I agree.
Yeah.
In those cases, I'm with you. In
Right.
the cases where it's, kids typing on like their iPad or whatever.
See, and that's
but here's
not
the
the
thing.
telepathy tapes. That's
Yeah.
not
I say
how they do
you
it.
have to
That's
be
it was
critical.
in the episodes I was listening to.
Because they're
critical.
taking video from other things to try to convince you that, but 100% of the telepathy tapes was facilitated communication.
I would be critical and look that up.
Yeah,
Okay.
look at
Make
it.
one way or the
Yeah.
other.
Okay.
'Cause
so either
I-
they're just lying on
Right.
there, in
Or
which case,
not
And it might just
necessarily
be
lying.
stock
They could
video.
just be saying that they're in a different room separate from this person.
no, but like the way that the kid communicates the thing
Right.
that they're trying to communicate in the cases that I listened
And
to,
I see
they
what you're
said
saying.
was a different method. It wasn't like that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That was not the method that they were using for the kid to say
What
they're
method
saying.
did they say?
So there's different cases. Like
Right.
they used the communication device that the kid already had, whether it was like an iPad that they typed the thing on,
right.
or whether they had. There were different things, and I wasn't 100% sure on some of the things, but it
That's the
wasn't
thing.
with assistance from a person.
I listen to a lot of telepathy tapes, and that is one of my criticisms is they did seem very vague at how they explained these kids were communicating.
If you listen
now,
to
having listened to
telepathy tapes and then listen to people talking about the telepathy tapes, there's two different conversations.
Okay. And I would say, and part of that is when I started researching the hill, I learned more about it. And that then caused me to be asking questions about the telepathy tapes. However, I am genuinely still on the fence with it a little bit.
okay.
So how about you stop teasing us and just hit us with
I know, right?
Well, I just want to make clear, like, my
dying.
understanding from what
dying
they
to know.
explained might
Yeah,
be different.
absolutely.
If you found out
And that's
something
where I
different,
started, too.
then that's
That's
yeah.
where I started too,
But that's the
because
thing.
they will claim it's not like the nonverbal. They will claim nonverbal, and I started with the telepathy tapes. So then I started looking at the outside because I was convinced too. I was like, "This is legit. Why have I never heard of this before?" And then when I started looking at like documentary stuff about the telepathy tapes, I was like, "Wait, I do know about this stuff."
Okay.
I just learned it from a different angle.
All right.
So yeah.
So I want
Okay.
to talk about the hill. I've
I
been dying to
don't
talk
know
about
what
the
the
hill.
hill
Do it.
is. It sounds
Okay.
like the title of a horror movie.
It does. So I'm going to start off in 2 Corinthians 12, and it says, I must go on boasting. Although there is nothing to be gained, I will go on to visions and revelations from the Lord. I know a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether it was in body or out of body, I do not know. God knows. And I know that this man, whether in the body or apart from the body, I do not know, but God knows, was caught up to paradise and heard inexpressible things and things that no one is permitted to tell. I will boast about a man like that, but I will not boast about myself except about my weakness. Even if I should choose to boast, I would not be boasting about a fool because I would be speaking truth, etc., etc. So that is where we get the concept of the third heaven. It says that he knows a man who was caught up to the third heaven. So the hill, and I'm not necessarily saying that it is the third heaven, but it is a place where people who are non-speaking, not necessarily autistic. Apparently there's people who are, who have Down syndrome who are non-speaking, and people who are not on any like diagnosed
Understood,
thing
yeah.
yet, or are non-speaking. have been beginning to communicate, and it's based in the authors Joseph M. Franco, who wrote the book Decoding Cody. So the concept of the hill is it is this place where these guys go, and kind of the way that Paul is explaining is like, don't know if it's an out of body experience or if they're going there in their bodies and when they dream, that kind of thing, but they're going to a place that they explain as a big, just beautiful green pasture hill that's got gorgeous plant life and flowers and so Paul explains it literally, and if it is the same place, Paul explains it as being in a paradise. These kids are explaining it as being a paradise as well. But it is basically this idea that they're going into the spirit realm and they're encountering Jesus. And some of these kids who are encountering Jesus come from families that are not Christian, and they're learning information that, like, even their parents are like, I don't know where you learned that. We're Muslim. And things like that, or we're strictly atheist. So I don't know where he's getting this information about Jesus. But that they're able to communicate freely on the hill without limitation. So it's like almost as though it's they're as if they didn't have any disabilities. Okay. Now the hill is described as this beautiful elevated landscape that's almost like mountain like, that it cannot be summed up in like 3,000 people could fit here. No, it's like it's infinitely big. Like it could hold everybody, and the center of this place is Jesus. And so the whole purpose of this place is Jesus. Jesus is the center of this place. And part of the reason this guy is critical of the telepathy tapes is because the telepathy tapes try to reduce and not go into how overwhelmingly this place is Jesus, and it's about Jesus, and it's not about the telepathy. It's not about their communication skills with each other. It's not about that stuff. It's about Jesus, and it's about almost creating this environment where these people can go. And one of the guys explained, I think it's the guy whose book's written about, one of the ways he explained it was he doesn't like going to the hill because it's hard for him to come back to his human body with all of its chains. And so it's almost like this place of refuge where these guys go, not just autistic, but where these guys go. And the technology they're using to explain it, going back to some of your criticism of the telepathy tapes, it's not just speak boards. It's the eye movement tracking. It's all these different forms of communication. They're communicating with each other, and some of them even are verbally communicating, but just they're non-speaking, so they just don't communicate very easily verbally. With words. And so they'll still use their words to communicate, but it takes time for them to communicate it. And at one point in time, he was having a conversation with the original two that they and then he has an assistant, and at one point one of them just said, "Ask the assistant. She's been there." The assistant almost had apparently turned white and realized that she had a vision of this place, and she had visited this place called the Hill. And so then she began to explain the place she visited. And ever since she visited, she didn't know she visited, she just thought she had a vision. And if you've ever had a vision, you realize how realistic they are. Crazy. And so she began explaining her vision, and she prayed about and over again that God would let her to return to that place through, and basically the same experience as Paul's explaining this other guy has. And this is so Paul's explanation. So this is where I want to come at it with a biblical approach of this is in the Bible. Paul is talking about a man who was caught into the third heaven, like paradise. It is written within there. We now can come to a conclusion. We can try to figure out what Paul is saying. Yeah. But in 2 Corinthians, he did explicitly talk about a man who was caught up in the third heaven that he knew personally. That's in the Bible.
Interesting.
So now let's take that step back and go, okay, that's in the Bible. Let's look at the hill, and maybe the hill is the third heaven. Maybe the hill is a different place. But apparently, so these kids describe the hill as within the hill there is an angelic hierarchy, and the angels are there and they're worshiping Jesus and they're communicating, and it's almost like a place of like planning for them, almost like the angelic hierarchy. And they did say that in this place, prayer is almost like an incense. And so it's almost like your prayers are like an incense to the Lord in this place. Huh. That's also a biblical concept. But in this place, the prayers are literally appearing like an incense. And that there is spiritual warfare that is going on in the hill. And they have explained that, sorry if I'm making things squeak. They have explained that there is warfare going on in this place, and that sometimes people come to the hill who are not supposed to be there. Who the author explains maybe these are people who are having the spirit. We just talked about in the last episode,
like the astral
projecting. That these are people who are astral projecting to this place.
I was gonna go there.
And when these people who are not supposed to be there, they are just, it's like they're ignored as though they're not even there. And so when the demons come in, there's basically shows there will be literal battles going on between the angels and demons within this spiritual realm, but Jesus is protecting this place, and it's like under his authority. And so therefore, okay, so this is this is the explanation of this place. But, so this place is described as having a thin veil, as though the boundary between the physical and the spiritual worlds are just really thin. And so maybe it's not the third heaven. Maybe it is just, maybe it's a second heaven
dimension.
Yeah, maybe it's something different. But people who have had, and this is where the kicker is, people who have had near-death experiences have explained this place. So people who are not even nonverbal, who are not even non-speaking, people who have had near-death experiences have explained this place as well. So that leaves to me a level of legitimacy. So we've got kids who are
heaven
autistic.
Is for real kind of kid.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got people who have had prophetic dreams, who've had visions of this place, confirm it, and they explain it the same way. People who have or are non-speaking, nonverbal, autistic, people with Down syndrome, people with different mental things going on, who are, I don't know,
neurodivergent.
What would the correct politically correct term be?
For what now?
Neurodivergent. Would that
people
be?
Who, like, not talking like people with disabilities, or people, how is it worded now? I want to be super respectful.
People that have disabilities. People with disabilities. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So people who have different disabilities who are going to this place as well. You have people who are having near-death experiences explaining this place, and then you have people who are astral projecting, who are also experiencing this place, but explaining it a little different.
They're trying to hop the gate. They're trying to hop the gate to get into it,
and they're explaining it a little different because it's not as peaceful and amazing because they're not supposed to be there.
Which is what the Queen did, right?
So getting getting into the telepathy tapes, one of the things that they are critical of the telepathy tapes is that the telepathy tapes encourages people to astral project there, and they're encouraging the non-Christian aspect of it, and it is not good. And so there is a level of people who are talking about the hill who are actually critical of the telepathy tapes because they omit. And here's the thing. And one of the ways he was critical of it was on the telepathy tapes, they cut out 90% of the experiences these kids are having because they're Christian experiences. And so they won't mention the fact that this whole place is centered around Jesus. They won't talk about the entire purpose of this place is to worship and point to Jesus. They won't talk about that on the telepathy tapes, even though that is the entire purpose of the hill.
So just devil's advocate.
Yep.
Because I really like the idea of the hill. But devil's advocate, I watched 3 interviews, 3 different moms. Jesus wasn't mentioned once in the hill when they talked about him. And they were just random moms. These weren't the same
because of the influence of the telepathy tapes.
But like Jesus wasn't mentioned once, and it was a community thing. And how they found out
were they
about
actually
the hill,
not mentioned, or did they cut it?
It was like each one was like 45-minute long interview. There, I didn't see anything cut.
Are you
Or
sure?
was that just the
I didn't
I would
see
go back
anything
and
to
check.
cut.
include?
I want to challenge your double back and go. I would challenge you to go back
Okay,
and check.
but time out. Okay,
Yeah.
time out. This wasn't from the telepathy tapes. This interview.
I know
this was a
But the-
debunking.
But
one.
the telepathy tapes is influencing.
So why would the
this.
debunkers take that out?
Because it's in the telepathy tapes, and they're trying to debunk the telepathy tapes as a whole.
Right.
And so it's getting lumped
someone-
into.
So wouldn't they
Someone-
want to leave Jesus in it then?
But here's the
Well,
thing:
interview-
it's getting lumped into
That's
the
what I'm
telepathy
saying.
tapes.
But-
It's getting lumped in as part of the telepathy tapes. So if you're going to debunk the telepathy tapes, you want to debunk all of the telepathy.
Okay, but
tapes.
time out. So second part of this. The Hill and the discussion of the Hill is a huge online forum that anybody can join. And most of
is
these
that, yeah.
parents found out about the Hill from reading about it on there, which leads to a suggestive kind of thing. But so again, just devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there is a whole community of people talking about the Hill, saying that I believe in the Hill and I've been to the Hill, who have never been to the Hill
Right?
because
agree
they
with
saw
that.
it online and they want to be part of a community.
I can agree with that.
You know,
Yeah,
and
'cause
so
everything-
just devil's advocate.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
There's
like
absolutely.
What if?
But
I have a question.
one of the pushbacks to that though is not all of these are the kids with autism.
right. Well,
have
and even on
other-
the interviews,
other people's
the moms on the
experiences.
interview said that they're
Also-
like we meet people that don't. These are parents
Yeah.
of just normal kids that we met on the website, and my daughter knows who it is. Well, your daughter knows who it is because you talk about her,
Right.
You know, I'm like,
thought-
yeah.
okay, go.
Okay, so as far as the Jesus not being mentioned aspect, I'm wondering if that has to do with how you get there. If you end up going there, but you're not supposed to be there, you don't recognize,
Right.
You know,
Well,
maybe
and my
you
thought
don't
was-
recognize him as Jesus. You're just like, oh, there's people here.
Jesus was never brought up in the conversation, in the questions was never brought up. But if Jesus is the center of the hill and he is the focus and the prayer and everything is of the focus, either they're at a different hill or that should come up. Regardless of what your religion or what your belief is, if that's the center of what is going on there,
I don't make
whether
the
you
rules
believe in
for
it
the
or
hill,
not,
so I'm not going to.
you know, I'm just saying, you know, and again, just devil's advocate. I'm just throwing some
right.
ideas
And-
out there.
and I-
on the-
my
on the
Logic
flip
might
side
not
of
apply
things.
there the same way.
Also, my pushback would be you are assuming reality with them as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And so
we don't
there's
know.
exactly. And so your criticism, I would match your criticism with the same criticism you just gave.
Yeah.
You're saying there's people who are online saying they've been there, have never been there.
Right.
Who's to say that these guys aren't?
And that's what
debunking
I'm,
it
and that's
you know.
exactly what I'm saying.
And so so any
you
criticism is met with the same criticism that it would have.
Do you think
Right.
that could be
And so-
kind of a like effort to I don't know if debunk's the right word, but to like water down the legitimacy of it? Like if enough people are talking
could be.
about it with disinformation
Right.
campaign, like the spiritual disinformation campaign, like we
Well,
don't-
and here's
that's all
another
crap.
devil's
We don't-
advocate. Why is there only one book? Why is there only one book about this? Well, one person writing about it. And allegedly, it sounds like he's doing his research and he's meeting with people, but who's to say that these are actual interviews and that he's not twisting it into his own words either? You know. And again, I'm not against
Right.
this at all.
You're just-
I'm just
same level of
I'm just being
skepticism
There's not just one book.
the opposite voice.
There's actually a ton of books.
Is there? Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so that legitimizes it, right?
The part of the
can
reason.
I tell you a story?
So wait, part
got
of
a
the
great
reason
story.
I will absolutely love to hear your story. Part of the reason I trust this guy, and I don't even necessarily trust him, but part of his testimony that I gravitate to is that this is a man who, since he became a preacher, the guy who wrote this book, he's a pastor, and he does specifically spiritual or services for people with special needs.
Right.
And that is a community that has been forgotten in the Christian world, in which I've been a decently big advocate of recognizing that when typically what happens then is people who have special needs, they just don't go to church.
Right.
And there's, and I've heard of, I want to say there's a church in Rapid City that they have a specific service that is Saturday night instead, where it's catered to people with special needs, and so like the light's low, the music is a lot
Sensory-friendly.
quieter, very
Yeah.
sensory friendly. It's recognized that like you're not coming because it's going to be a quite like theatrical service. It is.
Right.
It's going to be a very it's geared towards them and their families. And that is something in the Christian world that we need to be better at. And so this guy, for long before he's ever started talking about the Hill, has been a major advocate, and his career is ministering to people with special needs. And his discovery of the Hill came from individuals within his ministry who approached him about the subject.
Right.
And then they wanted him to begin to research this. And part of the reason they asked him to research it was because he had had the encounter with two different people who talked about it. And he said, I'm not an expert on this. Like, this isn't my area of expertise. And they said, well, how many experiences have you had with this? And he said 2. And they said, that's 2 more than anybody else we know who are in the ministry, like in the that realm.
What level of qualification is required to be an expert?
Right. And so that is
Compared
why.
to what?
So he wasn't even he was a reluctant, he's a reluctant researcher in this.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want to go into it, because it did have legitimacy concerns, because he did have these issues with it. So that's part of his story that I gravitated towards, because as a pastor and having worked at the Office of Human Development and stuff like that, that was one area that I did recognize very quickly, was that within the special needs communities, it's difficult to do church effectively in the way that we do church.
Yeah.
But
now I hate to equate this to Bigfoot.
Then don't.
But I'm gonna. Part of what killed Bigfoot research and Bigfoot legitimacy was the internet and forums and everybody having access to information and everybody needing to be part of that community. That killed it. And I think that maybe if the Hill is legitimate, if this is a legitimate thing, I think the fact that there is an online forum that anybody can join and discuss it and get information about it and then feed in their own story and make up their own story. Creepypasta has ruined cryptids because anybody can make up a story and all of a sudden either people believe it or they don't. And if it's legitimate, people debunk it. And I think with the Hill, I think my personal thought, I think it's legitimate.
Trust me.
But I also think that the majority of people who say they've been to the Hill are full of beans.
I can also agree with that.
Dear listener,
I can also agree with that.
Trust me when I say we are aware of the hypocrisy of the comments we are making as 4 random people with microphones on the internet.
Because we have the power.
We are aware of the irony of these comments.
Ironically, this might be the one episode we actually have, we are equipped to present, some authauthority on.
Yeah.
Yes, but nobody,
which is ironic.
Nobody can confirm that.
Right. But that's ironic because that's true. Yeah. Because they're just trusting. They're trusting. Well, I guess they could look up Mike's credentials.
Confirming.
They could look up Mike's credentials.
Confirming spirituality.
That's true. That's very true.
Is near impossible. Confirming a spiritual experience it's impossible because it's your personal experience.
Faith.
It's like me trying to confirm as a psychologist, as a counselor, trying to confirm how somebody's feeling.
Yeah. Right.
I can ask all the questions in the world, but at the end of the day, I got to trust.
Well, and
because I don't know.
The access to information has made that more difficult as well.
Yeah.
Because people know the right answers.
Yeah.
If I go to a therapist, if mandatorily, if I have to go to a therapist, I know the right answers. Yeah. I know the right answers. I have access to them.
Right.
I know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
You know the answers. And so you can read everybody else's. It's so easy to fake it on the internet.
Yeah.
There's no way to know.
Right.
And so we're discussing something that has an origin. Now, however you get to that origin, whatever you think it is,
which is an important side note too. We need to admit, as people who are influential, because we are influencers, we have to admit too that we don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We have ideas.
Absolutely.
We've got expertise in certain things, but at the end of the day,
we're discussing theories.
Yeah. Well, and we've shaped this show. Yeah. We've shaped this show to not tell you.
Yeah.
We've shaped this show to give you just enough of a taste that you do your own research on it and you come to your own conclusions.
Right.
But getting back into it, but that is, I agree with you, Phil, completely, that we're asking them to trust our credentials. Meanwhile, we're telling them, well, do or don't trust these guys' credentials. Don't trust our credentials. Absolutely
Right.
don't. Never trust it. And I
a lot of these researchers, they are very well credentialed. They are very knowledgeable. They know their stuff.
Yeah.
Whether they're, hyper focused in this because they have personal interest in it,
Right.
or there's money, or there's, or maybe they're right and we're wrong.
This I'm gonna shout out Commandy real quick just because I've got to pick on him for a
We haven't
split
done
second.
it for a while.
Yeah. The part of our debate on the Discord was the pre-trib, mid-trib, or post-trib theology, and one of my arguments in that is, I don't feel like we can come from a place, or I don't feel like I can come from a place where I am 100% certain of it, because people who have studied theology are well better versed times 1,000 than me in end-time theology, will still come to different conclusions.
Yep.
And so therefore, I can recognize that I can't be 100% sure of what I've read and believe. I think this is kind of one of those things where it's like, one way or the other, whatever you believe, the people on both sides, I think at least, both sides of the legitimate and the disproving of it, they really believe that they are correct.
Yes.
And they think that what is best for these people is that they defend their side. So the people who are for it and agree with it, that there is the telepathy, they're for it, and they believe that's the best.
The telepathy.
That's the healthiest thing.
I can get behind anything that has non-maleficence to it. Anything that is not meant to hurt anything, I can get behind it. And let's look into it. Let's research it.
And I think that they're coming from that's the healthiest thing for these kids. And on the people who are against it, they're saying you're using them and you're manipulating them. So what is healthiest for them is to adequately disprove it.
Yeah, this isn't working, so let's find something better.
Both sides are taking their own agenda into what they're researching.
Yeah.
The Hill, and this is why I wanted to approach the Hill as its own separate thing, because the Hill is not talking about telepathy.
Right.
This is a place of spiritual origins where people are allegedly going to in the spiritual realm, which is a different topic and a different issue, because kids can be telepathic and not go to the Hill, and people can go to the Hill and not be telepathic.
But there does seem to be overlap.
But there seems to be an overlap because of the rate of people who have autism who have experienced both, or they're the target. But the Hill isn't just autistic people.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I believe you then have to say that it is a different, separate issue.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to talk. That's why I took that approach for this episode.
Yeah.
But part of that, though, is part of what makes the Hill so appealing is the people, it seems like, and this is where, for me, I have to admit that sometimes God does things in his divine power and his authority that I don't fully understand.
Yeah.
And one of the criticisms that often people take with that is, well, if he will allow them and he'll take them up to the Hill, why doesn't he just heal them on earth? And I was listening to the episode of the interview on the Confessionals. The Confessionals is a great podcast. Highly encourage you guys to listen to it. But the host of the Confessionals' wife is ongoing dealing with cancer. And so health is a big topic in there, and having walked through different experiences within our lives, and I'm open to share a lot about those, but they take a lot more time than we have on the podcast. But one of the conclusions that I've come to when it comes to healing is two-part. Is one, in recognizing that we don't have the full picture, and so we don't get to see why God does what he's doing. We don't get to see the hindsight of it. We don't get to see the 30 years, 100 years down the road implications of what happens now. We don't get to see that. So it's hard to question why then without that. The other aspect is, as a Christian, Jesus came down to earth. He died on the cross for our sins. He paid the price. And if that is the only thing he ever does, that is the greatest gift that we could ever receive, is him being willing to die for us. And so then who am I then to take that and go, and this is what the host of the Confessional said, who am I to take that and then say, that grace was not enough. I also need this. And that is a place of pride that I think would be healthy for us to get away from that mindset.
Agreed.
But so that's addressing that criticism. But specifically, part of the reason the autism spectrum seems to be what's showing up on this is because autism is such a huge spectrum that it is having people who it does seem like they're trapped, and it does seem like they have these issues, and there's a frustration there, but there's also people who don't have autism that are visiting the hill as well.
So on kind of springboarding off of that, remember last week I told you to go watch The Predator? I'm assuming you didn't.
No, I did not.
Okay.
Because you didn't tell me which one until
Mike texted, and then I said, yes, that's the one. It was like the next day. Or somebody did.
Red messaged it 2 days ago.
I was like,
It was like 4 days ago.
oh man,
Whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter. The premise of the movie.
It might have been that long ago.
It was a while ago.
I want to double check.
It don't matter. Anyway, the premise of that,
I see where you're
the
going with
reason,
this one, yeah.
the reason that I brought that up was that kind of the subplot with that movie was that they were suggesting that because the Predator came to Earth to kidnap this autistic kid because the subplot was that like the theory
He's the next-
was that
next
that's the
in
next
our-
step of evolution.
Right,
Autism
yeah.
is like the next step of evolution. Now, I don't know how about that, but like it did raise kind of an interesting question in relation to what we've talked about with like the gateway process and now with the telepathy tapes in the hill, where like kids with autism, kids on the spectrum, kids with Down syndrome, whatever other disabilities, if you want to call it that, seem to have an awareness of things that we don't, right? And so, like, I kind of wonder if it's just an overlap and, like, they have these different abilities to be kind of in that space outside of what we consider space-time reality, the things that we see here.
Like they have that
sense with our
fourth
five
dimension
senses.
kind
yeah,
of
they
sense,
seem to have that,
right?
and so I do kind of wonder if it's just that they have an ability to interact with that other dimension that you can achieve with the gateway process, astral projection, remote viewing, all that stuff.
And I've always wondered if it's
Different
just
consciousness
children
levels.
in general, because how many stories are there about kids who talk to Jesus and they've never been to church, or kids that, are, speaking to something or someone that isn't their, imaginary friends, things like that are so real to these kids, and it has nothing to do with disabilities or anything else. So I have an old family friend that her granddaughter, they were reconstructing a new house. There was sawdust everywhere and everything else, and they couldn't find her, and she was little, and then they heard her upstairs, and it sounded like she was talking to a man, and so they ran upstairs, and there's no footsteps in the dust anywhere. And they ran up there and asked her who she was talking to, and she said Jesus. And they hadn't been to church or anything. And that's a real person that I know in real life that had that experience.
Yeah.
And so, I've always thought that, especially littles and as we get older, our own self-doubt, our own need for reality, we forget that at one point we could see. We could see beyond that, and we weren't afraid of it. And
There's another movie that's the premise, and I can't think of what it is, but I know that's a thing.
Because even my own kids, when they were little, you got to hear them talking and laughing with somebody, and there's nobody there,
Yeah.
And you hope it's good and not nefarious, but
Well, and Jesus does commands us to have faith like a child.
Yeah.
And I think that we get to the point where we
forget
overcomplicate
that.
things. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so I just do kind of wonder if that's what is telepathy, just the ability to like see and hear outside the shared consciousness that we talked about with gateway process. If you just kind of like, there's parts of that like leaking out.
Yeah.
Like there's more to it, and we like emanate consciousness that we just don't realize, and we don't see or hear
Predicting
that,
what someone's going to
but somebody
say, or
else
knowing instinctively what somebody's going through.
Right.
Is that telepathy, or is that, what is that?
Right.
They could be on so many different levels.
I just think it's, and I don't have a stance on that. I just think it's an interesting. I just think it's an interesting thought process to kind of link back to what we already talked about the last few weeks.
And it's fun being on one side or the other, and I'm not really on a side, honestly.
Yeah.
I know I pushed one side because it was fun, but
and that's kind of where I'm
But
at
I'm really
too.
not on
I
either
went into
side.
the telepathy tapes with a pretty pretty
I don't
open
know.
mind of just like, what do they have to say about
Right,
this? You know,
right.
But I appreciate the pushback.
Yeah, it's good times.
Anywho's,
Yeah. So, I don't remember what the last point that I had was on.
I'm
but
sure it wasn't important.
Something about me being handsome or something, I think.
Yeah, I definitely was talking about that. Absolutely. But anyway,
I was going to say that I think it's interesting that you brought that scripture into it, because like before you brought the scripture into it and kind of grounded it with that a little bit, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't have thought to bring that up. I was thinking like Marvel references, like the ancestral plane from
The
like
first
Black
thing I thought of
Panther
was
and like what is it Moon Knight?
Yeah.
Moon Knight, when he goes to that open plains area that's like the afterlife or whatever, and like
Buddhism came to mind when I was that ethereal plane that you can find yourself on if you pray hard enough, and
but they're not finding themselves,
and that's the thing,
and that's where we had started, and I was like, that's where I was like, I got to save it for this show,
and
because
we talked about that. That's where we timed out because we were like, we're getting too deep too fast.
Yep.
We need
it's
to
just
do
another
this
thing
on the
where it's
show.
like it seems to there's a broad, it's like it's kind of a shared experience across cultures and religions, but then like also it's specifically different. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Did those have influence on each other, or are they just emitting information, or like
right.
what?
Well, and there's if you're not a cessationist and you believe that the gifts of the Spirit are for today, it talks about prophecy, word of knowledge, that kind of stuff, tongues and all that is included. But part of the prophetic is your if in our modern vernacular, in our modern terms, you would accuse somebody who is giving prophetic words that came true as being telepathic or being psychic, or being and so the sheer number of words of knowledge that I have that God has given me, that I've given to people that have been 100% correct. In modern terms, you would say, well, that's somebody who's psychic. And so there's the spiritual gifting aspect that comes into this. And we start having these conversations about all of this stuff. One of the things that I want to be, the first thing that I want to say is, to kind of end this episode is, so I did quote 2 Corinthians 12, and it is there, but I am not saying, and I want to be very careful to say, I am not saying that proves that the hill is correct.
Absolutely.
Right.
That I'm not saying that is the correct interpretation of that scripture. I'm not saying that the hill is that. I'm just saying there is more, and that kind of leads into my next
There is
point.
that
It's
scripture,
interesting.
like you said.
And that's where it leads into my next part, is that I think one of the things that Jesus fought the hardest against when he was on earth was the over hyper religious, practical, lawful, technically correct, but in a harmful way.
Yeah.
Pharisees and Sadducees, and the system that existed was very broken. I think that modern Christianity has the tendency of being that same system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when we take out and we dumb down the world, and it's part of the naturalists, like it's part of the science and the fight against religion, is to create this very, everything has to have an answer, everything has to have a solution, sterilized faith.
Yeah.
And I think that takes out the mystical to a level that it's not healthy.
It's dangerous.
And I think it's dangerous, but I also think that
I think it denies God's power.
Agree.
Yeah.
But I also think an obsession of the mystical is
that's
also
what I was going to say too. That there's got to be a balance.
Yeah, because if you begin to obsess over this and take it as gospel truth and you run with this, and that's part of what we like to talk about on the show, is like you can get dangerous into this, and the Bible does warn about being obsessed with the demonic and things like that. And when you begin to be obsessed with it, then you can claim you're a Christian, but that pure obsession, man, it's not healthy for you as a Christian.
I think it all comes down to we've separated it. And so we have people that just want to be here and they think, well, God will reach into this world and affect things, but he's not here. Or we think of it as that and as like, well, we can reach into that world and I want to be there. But we don't think of it as it's all fluid. It's all like, we can't necessarily see all of it, but it's not really separate. It's here. It's around us. Like that whole realm is around us. It's just that we don't see all of it. But we think of it as a separate place. We think of it as a separate system. We think of it all as being separate. And so like there's interactions between, but it's not the same place, but it is the same place, right? Is that kind of that's part of the thing? Like we're obsessed with being there, going there, investigating there. Like it's not here.
Yeah.
What's the
You
term
think that's a good way to
that
think
we
of that?
use?
I think that's
What's the term that we use?
that's not what I was trying to say, but that is an excellent point as
with the
well.
Assemblies of God.
Okay.
It's like the kingdom of God is here and also not yet, and it's like here and present, but also yet to come.
Yes.
like at the same time. Is that what it is? There's
that's
I can't remember the exact wording of it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Exactly.
see. I hate using the word manifestations now, even if it's in a good sense. We see manifestations of that, but also we have not fully come into that yet.
Right.
So, anyways,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that the hill, if it is real, there's clearly some importance to it. Because why would Jesus create? Why would God create the space for it to exist if it wasn't extremely important? One way or the other, it's if it is real, it is important. But again, I don't think it's something that we should obsess, and I think that the caution would be, so then the next step would be, okay, well, I'm going to try to astral project to this place.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
That would be the obsession the other way. You know, and I think that that's not healthy. And I think intentionally separating your mind from your body in order to pursue all of these different avenues, I think that's not healthy as well.
Because in one of the interviews, one of the moms was saying, well, I haven't been there yet. And I met people who have been there and I haven't been there yet, but I'm trying to get there.
See,
And I
that's
was
not,
like, to me, it feels like it's something that
That's
happens
how you
because
get
it's
demons.
supposed to happen.
yeah. And that's,
You know,
and that's what that
not
one,
looking for it.
demons? Because that's how you get demons.
the one assistant who had the vision. Oh yeah, I didn't do the Bigfoot affirmation. You're right. We'll end on that this time.
Okay.
We just had so many current events
I
that
know,
I
man.
forgot about
It's
it.
It's going to say something
But,
about
Finish
tomorrow.
what you were saying.
It's going to say something about tomorrow. I'm going
That'd
to
be hilarious.
use my psychic abilities.
Okay, so I want to end on this. So the last thing, continuing with that, is that is all things in their right proper order are, it's healthy and it's good, but we do have to be very careful. And in the Western Christianity, I think the tendency is more to just immediately discredit things because this isn't. Oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
Stop. But on the other end, and part of a more Eastern mentality is, I'm going to pursue this thing at all costs, hyper mystical.
Right.
And I think that's not healthy either. And I think there is a balance between the two. And I think that's one thing that Satan and evil has tried to corrupt. I think it's an intentional corruption to cause us to go too far on the pendulum both ways.
I think Red that brought it up in the Discord, talked about main character syndrome.
Yeah,
I think when we haven't experienced something, then it must be fake.
Yeah.
If I haven't seen it, it's fake.
yeah.
Right.
I've never been to the hill. I don't know anybody who's been to the hill, so it must be fake.
It must be fake.
I'm not convinced. One way or the other.
I'm convinced the other way.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm convinced the other way. I had this thought actually when you mentioned the main character syndrome. I saw your comment back to it, and I was like,
I have it bad.
What
Not gonna lie.
if the people that have like autism, Down syndrome, or stuff like that are the main characters, and we're just NPCs?
Yeah. Because
I'm an NPC, dog.
nobody wants to be insignificant. Nobody wants to be that person that gets forgotten. That's if you talk to anybody who's in a retirement home, people that are towards the end of life, that's one thing, is that they don't want to be forgotten. They want to be significant enough that people remember who they were.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing to just never
Not
be
matter.
remembered.
Yeah.
But-
your life was so insignificant that nobody remembers it, and we want to be part of something.
Right.
So that's real. We do want to be the main character.
But here's the thing about Christianity.
I feel like we're talking the same right now with our little voices.
Yeah, I'm trying to emulate you. No,
I think we're just trying to settle it down.
but here's the thing. As Christians, you're not the main character. Get over yourself.
Yeah.
Jesus is.
Yeah.
God is.
But he cared enough
But
about you. You matter enough.
On
to
the
him
other, exactly, on the other end of it,
that you get to be part of it.
he died for you.
Yep.
He loves you.
You are the the key
special.
point of the story.
You're the Sam to his Frodo.
No, you are special to
are
the
special,
one.
and that's
You're
the
special to the one who it is about.
Yeah.
But you're not. It's not about you.
It's not about you.
Get over it. It's not about you. Stop making it about
Tanner.
you.
It's not about you. I say it all the time.
All right.
Oh, we didn't do it.
Oh, this is actually great. Bigfoot affirmation number
finish
37.
with that.
You are proof that wonder still exists.
Wow.
I am glad
That
we
ties in
waited
very
to
nice.
finish on that one.
Very
That
nice.
worked out
It
well.
is good.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
You, you said, Mike, that it was going to have something to do with tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Oh, so
Well, maybe tomorrow as well.
yeah.
So I'm 1 for 3 if you count me being off by 1 week. Actually, I'm 0 for 3 if you don't.
All right. With that, don't forget.
To be your biblically accurate best.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/BA Bigfoot. Go to insanelabs.com, spelled with a Z. Use the code BA Bigfoot for 45% off on your sports nutrition needs. And were you going to say something? All right. With that,
Thanks for giving me the opportunity. I loved it.
with
Over that
that,
shot button.
That was your moment.
we love you
to
guys.
be the main character.
Thank you guys. Okay, bye.
Bye.
In the ancient days of giants, when the earth was wild and free, a creature roamed the valleys, cloaked in mystery. Is he born of angels' blood and man, a Nephilim so tall, or a shadow of the fallen, yet heeding the Maker's call? He's a biblically accurate Bigfoot, with a lineage from the skies. Not a myth or legend, but a truth that never dies. Is he a remnant of the Nephilim, a titan standing tall? Or does he have the word of God upon him, the last to hear the call?